And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to A Bookish Moment. I'm Sarah Burr.
And I'm J.C. Kenney. Happy Baby Friday, folks. We have a fantastic and heroic guest with us today, and I'll tell you later why I consider her a hero. But for now, Sarah, I think it's time to get bookish.
I very much agree, JC. And it's been a while since we've had a Baby Friday episode because
Yeah.
it's been a while since I've smiled at that term. That's become one of my favorite things that I've learned out of A Bookish Moment is that we call it Baby Friday. And it's been a while since we've been, at least on my side, our Zoom windows are on the same level.
Yeah.
Usually our guests, I don't know, I don't understand how Zoom does it, but it's fun to like have us both focusing on Terri on our
Yes.
screen. And folks, we are joined by the delightful Terri Maue, who is here to
Woo!
talk about her latest novel, Dark Mirror, which is a traditional mystery from her Z and Rico mystery series. Z is a super cool reporter, investigative reporter, columnist. She is really tapped into she's just got a really great sense. And one of the fun things that, as I was reading, that I found to be so enjoyable is that there was a lot of talk about auras and how people were like the vibes that they were giving off. And I just feel that that's something that's so identifiable these days where, you know, you meet somebody and you just have a feeling about them. And I love it that Z really like leans into feeling out the people in her world, which I am very excited to hear about how, Terri, you came to create this character and this series. So very much welcome to the show. We're delighted to have you here.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm just really happy to be here. This is great. I love telling people about my books.
Well, you're at the right place.
Yes.
You're at the right place, and we've got our wonderful folks joining us live in the chat. We've got Farmhouse Reader saying greetings to all, DHBA saying a good Thursday afternoon to you. So folks, settle in, pull up your chairs as we get to learn a little bit more about Terri Maue. As we, by way of introduction, Terri, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Like what led you to writing? You know, you've got a lot of really cool interests, and one of them being Taekwondo. So how did you become a traditional mystery author?
Well, thanks for the question. It's been a lifelong dream of mine to write a mystery novel. I fell in love with words. I don't even remember when I wasn't in love with words. I grew up in a family of readers. My parents read. I probably fell in love with the mystery genre because that's what my dad read. Mm-hmm. So I grew up with Nancy Drew, Sherlock Holmes, of course, the Hardy Boys, all of those, great mysteries way back when. So I gotta say that I never really lost that sense of awe, this idea that little black marks on a piece of paper could put a picture, in my mind. And then if I got really good enough at using them, I could get the picture that was in my mind into somebody else's. And that just feels like magic to me. So I was just like always in love with words and writing. I did study journalism and PR in college. And my first career after I graduated was in the PR department for the local school district. After probably, 10 years or so, I decided that wasn't for me anymore. And so I went back to school and I got a doctorate in English with a specialty in creative writing. And I had a second career as a college English professor, and please don't hold that against me. But I didn't really seriously try to write a mystery novel until I retired. And that was 10 years ago. So I'm a happy, retiree pursuing what I guess might be called my third, career. Um, and just really, really enjoying it. It's a lifelong dream. I'm so thrilled to have two mystery novels out and a third one on the way.
Well, that is so cool. So, congratulations. And the
Yes.
reason I referred to you as a superhero is because your time as an educator, and I want to thank you for that because we need we need educators, and we always have and always will need educators in our world. And so, thank you for the years doing that. Part of it is I've got a kid who's a teacher, so and my mom
Uh,
was a teacher, so I'm partial to teachers, but that doesn't change the fact you all do fantastic work. So, thank you for doing that.
well, you're welcome, JC. And I'm just going to add something that I feel very strongly about why I wanted to be an English professor. I made it my passion to help students get the bad taste of poor English teachers out of their mouths. So many students took my class. Well, it was a required class, like, Comp 101 was a required class. So many of them waited, like, oh my God, English, And I taught it as a class in critical thinking and getting your ideas across. I loved that. And I think they really were surprised at how much fun they had. So,
Have been very blessed in that I think all of the English teachers that I had were wonderful. Like you could tell that they were passionate about the work that they were doing, and um, like whether it be finding ways to kind of bring out the magic of the text or just to encourage students like, hey, like if this book isn't for you, that doesn't mean that like you don't like reading, you just haven't found the right book. So I'm curious, Terri, with that kind of mindset, how did I how long has this story, how long has Z and Rico, like how long has their world been something that you have either been thinking about or holding on to? Or is this something that, you only met them recently and these ideas are just like, have they were there when you needed them?
um, I think the answer is it's a mixed answer, but I do want to drop back for a moment and say I don't want to insult teachers. What I mean by the bad taste of English classes, most of them thought they were going to be grammar. We were going to be talking about grammar and paragraphs and punctuation, which we did, but it wasn't the focus. So to answer your question, I wrote the first draft of Knife Edge, the first book, um, more than 10 years ago, because I was still working then and belonged to a writing group and I just thought I'd play around with the ideas. So I wouldn't call it anywhere near an actual novel, but it was a story,
Mm-hmm.
And that so that's how long Z and Rico and the town of Valerian have been in my life. Um, and that 40,000 words or so that I had from Knife Edge when I retired became, the basis that I worked on, built the rest of the book on. Um, but I'll tell you something kind of fun about the town, Valerian. I named it as a kind of an homage to my parents because my
Oh,
maiden name is
okay.
Valerius.
Oh,
And
nice.
Oh.
and we always used to say that in our ancestry, there was this mad Roman Emperor Valerian. So I went and I did some research and decided, well, he seems like he was a real guy. He wasn't any crazier than the rest of those bloodthirsty Roman emperors. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to name this town for my parents. And also, I get to play around with the idea that valerian is an herb that people used to go to sleep.
That's what, because I was very curious about the name Valerian, because I think it was my grandmother that, or no, my grandfather. He was like all about valerian root for like going to sleep. He's like, oh, it's like the
Yeah,
best thing
yeah, yeah,
ever.
yeah.
And so I like on his recommendation bought like a huge like capsule tub of valerian root, and it was so gross. I like every time I like unscrewed it, I was like, I can't like, how is anybody supposed to sleep after taking this because the smell was so potent. But what
Oh,
I was curious is I know that like in your biography, that you have like you're very much like into like spirituality and like the energy of the world and things like that. And I was like, oh, like I wonder if that's like how like valerian came about, because it is an herb and kind of all of the holistic methods for it. So that's but the fact that it's also, you know, very close to your maiden name. How cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have to confess, I've never taken valerian. I've never smelled it.
It,
I thought
I
you
would
made
not
it into
recommend.
tea, but I mean, I don't really know, you know. I was just
So,
playing with the name.
hey, but that's
That's how
what's so fun.
things.
We get to play with
Yes.
names and draw from our past. And so, and speaking of our past, one of the things that I'd like to know is Z's job as a satire columnist who writes satire. Again, I'm showing my age here, but when I was younger, I grew up on syndicated columnists like Mike Royko, Dave Barry, those, and it was just I loved reading those columns, and that's who I thought of with Z, and so. I guess I kind of like to know if there was a particular reason you chose that field for Z, or if that was the field that Z told you, no, this is what I do.
I'm going to say I chose it. However, Z did not object. Let me put it that way. And I recognize those names. I grew up reading those columns. Um, One reason I made Z a columnist is because I love language and words, and I wanted a main character who was really good with language so that I could give her a great vocabulary and I wouldn't, I would get to play with that, you know. So that was one reason. I also wanted Z um, to have a sense of humor. Yeah, to have a sense of humor. What she really likes to do in her column is point out bureaucratic absurdity, social idiocy, that kind of stuff. So she gets to lampoon. Um, but she also sees herself as standing up for like the ordinary human being against the soulless machinery of bureaucracy, which it's something I can kind of relate to. And so I
Mhm.
wanted a character that would do that, and it would also then give her the opportunity to learn about things that are going on in a different way. Take a look at things in a different way from a straightforward reporter. I really didn't want her to just be a straightforward reporter. So
She has, yeah, she has some like vested interest in getting the truth and in showing, revealing the truth to her readers. We do have a
yeah,
question for you, Terry, from a viewer. This is from Mary Galley, and I actually, before I ask Mary's question, because she is asking, why did you choose a story based on a religious cult? Um, Before answering that, can you maybe set the stage for us about what the mystery is within Dark Mirror and why there is tension and how Z gets drawn into it in the first place? Because it has one of my favorite setups in just like any type of genre where we have a famous author who is a part of the mix, and I love mysteries that involve famous authors. I don't know why. That's one of my favorite things.
hey, you're allowed to have favorite things without having to explain, right?
Yeah.
So okay, so thank you. So Dark Mirror, uh, Z. Let's see. Let me back up and organize my thoughts here. Z gets involved in the mystery because her friend, who is the author of a very controversial novel that does include elements of religion, is found dead in her condo. And a woman who has been stalking the author is arrested, and she actually confesses, but she says it was an accident. So when the book, early in the book, Z is grieving, for her friend, but that looks pretty open and shut. And then she gets an anonymous tip because people know her because of her column, she gets an anonymous tip that a group called Believers Anonymous could have had something to do with this author's death, that there just might be more to this story. Maybe it's not quite as open and shut as it looks. So for her own peace of mind, Z decides she's going to find out more about this group. There is a group like this in the author's book. So she decides that she can find out more about this group. And the rest of the book really follows her experiences as she's trying to understand if there's a connection, how this connection might work. She discovers there are a number of people who might have wanted this author dead, and there are a number of different motives that could have prompted this. So that's the setup for the story.
And then just to kind of highlight Mary's question of like, why did you choose this like the religious cult aspect or the Believers Anonymous? Like, what was the pull or the interest of kind of having that be the shadowy organization that Z is dealing with?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, Mary. And by the way, although this book feels like it's really timely, I wrote the first version of it, again, more than 10 years ago when I was still working. But I have always been interested in spirituality and how people's spiritual beliefs affect their lives. And so I wanted to use that as a plot for a book because those spiritual beliefs are just really, really powerful. And many of us internalize them when we're quite young, and then we might, as we get older, this is certainly my experience. So speaking from my own experience, as you get older, you begin to recognize how these are still influencing your activities and your feelings beyond, deeper even than gut feelings. In my estimation, the spiritual aspect of human existence is the most powerful aspect of it. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. So there we are with all of this power for good or ill, but that's why I decided to explore this idea. As an example, of the power, I created this Believers Anonymous group. These are actually folks who are trying to recognize how deeply they've been influenced by their religious upbringing and how hard they feel like they need to work to try to undo or at least mitigate this influence. And a lot of this, I'm just going to say, was based on my own experience. I never belonged to a group like that. But that kind of deep excavation of why do I feel this way? Why do I have this knee-jerk reaction to that? That's why I did it. I wouldn't actually call Believers Anonymous a cult because it's really, I think, more accurately described as a group of people who recognize kindred spirits. No one's forced to join and no one is prevented from leaving, but they recognize kindred spirits engaged in the same struggle, that they're engaged in. So
that one of the things that I have said for years as somebody who grew up in a church and left is that you can take the boy out of the church, but you can't take the church out of the boy. So, and
well said.
Yeah,
well said. And that's not all bad. I don't mean to say that that's all bad. I did try to show in the book other characters who actually benefit, from their relationships with organized religion, because it isn't all bad.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And kind of dovetailing from that, I would like to know, and I'm sure Sarah would too, Z has a really good friend who is kind of, she kind of, I think embodies to a certain extent some of the spirituality you're talking about in Fontina. So could you introduce us to Fontina and tell us a little bit about her?
Oh, sure. Fontina It's I love the character. I love the character. And let me tell you, she's actually based on someone I know who is a real life, well-respected practicing psychic.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, how about that? But Fantina is describes herself as highly intuitive. She is the child of parents who came of age in the 60s. So she's raised with a lot of those sort of new age ideals. And she never lost them, but she's also very practical and she has channeled them into a business she calls holistic living, which offers classes and herbal supplements and that sort of thing. Fantina and Z have been friends since they met in first grade. They were one of those friendships that clicked immediately. Like this is Z calls her my sister of the heart, you know.
Oh.
Uh, Fantina does not want to be described. She was very clear about this with me. Fantina does not want to be described as psychic. She says it gives people the wrong impression. Instead, she says she pays attention to details and notices things that other people might not. A little bit like Sherlock, a little teeny bit there. But she also pays attention to her intuition. So she might have an image in her head of someone who is, so while someone's telling a story, she might have an image in her head about a cloth that's frayed somewhere, and she'll follow that. What's that feeling? Why does it feel that way? Fantina has a knack of asking just the right question at just the right time. She doesn't tell Z any answers because she doesn't have them, but she will say, if she feels intuitively prompted to ask a question, she'll ask it, you know? So that's Fantina. She also does cool things like reads tarot cards and consults the pendulum and that sort of stuff. But she considers that the what people call psychic arts as something available to everyone.
Mhm.
Nothing like really special. You just have to decide that you want to learn about it, and then you can. So that's Fantina.
I like that approach because I find like the psychic arts to just be so fascinating, and like I don't feel that I have like the receptors of that, but like I love being like I love being in their presence and like being told like what, what
Yeah,
they feel, and all of I just find that their connection to energy so fascinating. Um
yeah.
and I we said that this time was going to fly by, Terry, and I have to be
Yeah.
careful about the clock here with
Yeah.
my next question. But this is a Z and Rico mystery, and we haven't really mentioned Rico yet. Tell us about Rico and what is his role? Why is he important? Why is he a part of Z's team? And was it always going to be like a Z and Rico mystery, or was it kind of a struggle for you to figure out like who am I working with here?
It was always going to be Z and Rico,
Hmm.
in part because the mystery novels that I enjoy in this traditional style usually have a love interest.
Hmm.
So I wanted Z to have a love interest. I wanted her to be more dimensional, So Rico is her love interest, and he is the newspaper's crime reporter. A
Hmm.
deliberate decision on my part. Not only is it kind of sexy to be the crime reporter, but Z needed a way to get information from the police that she would not be able to get just on her own. So Rico becomes her confidant and conduit for some of that, and that lets me, put that into the story. Rico spends a lot of time trying to keep Z out of trouble. He's very familiar as covering the crime beat with the kind of nasty characters that you run into, as well as how the police operate. Z is not. So she makes some foolish moves sometimes, and she gets herself into trouble. In Knife Edge, she crosses the lieutenant who's in charge of the investigation. And of course, like all good series, the lieutenant gets the case in Dark Mirrors too. So she's got a continuing relationship with him. But that's Rico is there to show the softer loving side of Z, even though, and to show her internal struggle with accepting him as her lover and her partner, and his internal struggle with her, you know. So that's the third member of the company in the Z and Rico mysteries.
I love it when we've got like a nice solid group of friends or companions to work with. My like philosophy is sleuthing is more fun with friends. So like having like this Z has such great support as she navigates these mysteries. And I believe I heard you say, Terri, that there is another book in the works. Is that something
Yeah.
that you can tease a little bit with us so that we know when to look forward to Z's next adventure?
Sure. The working title is Bloodstone. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't imagine it will be out for over a year because I'm not a fast writer and I'm only about 12 chapters in, maybe not even a quarter of the way into the story. But we'll see the relationships between Z, Rico, and Fontina continue to develop. And all I can say about Bloodstone is that it involves psychics and actors. That's pretty much all I can tell you.
Ooh.
All right. So, folks, stay tuned. We got more fun stuff coming.
And that actually cues us up very nicely for
Yes, it does.
how do
Thinking
like
this.
how do people like stay connected. So if folks want to follow along on your journey, Terri, and stay connected, hear updates about where you are in your writing progress, what's the best way
Yeah.
to connect with you?
Well, I'm going to give you two options. I have a website. It's just very simply terrimaue.com. And I do my best to keep that updated in terms of where I'm going to be doing book signings and what kind of activities I'm involved in. The best way to keep track, though, is to email me and subscribe to my newsletter. And that email address is terri@terrimaue.com. My newsletter comes out once a month. I try to keep it short because people are busy. I also try to involve the readers because Z loves pastry. So I invite readers to send me ideas for pastries to sample it. And at the
Ooh,
end of the year, I pick one that will come and be a part of the next book. So
Oh,
nice.
it's
cool.
tough. Research can be tough, but I'm a professional. I will go and I
Yeah.
will eat donuts and pastries and tarts and, for the
I'm
good of the book.
curious,
Yes.
were any of the pastries that were mentioned in Dark Mirror from your readers, or is this something that
Yes.
you've recently started to do? Oh, okay, cool.
No. There's a pastry and knife edge that came from a reader's suggestion, and
Mhm.
there are, I think, two of them because I couldn't decide in Dark Mirror
Mhm.
that came as a result of readers' suggestions. So yeah. So email me, subscribe to my newsletter, go check out my website. I'm also on Instagram at Terri Maue author.
Perfect. And send
Yeah.
pastries
And
Yes.
send me
Yeah.
it's pastry suggestions. I'd like
suggestions.
to can I say real quick, check out the Las Vegas Writers Conference, an
Mhm.
international conference coming up next week in Las Vegas, but there's still time to register. It's April 23rd to 25th, Las Vegas Writers Conference.
Perfect. Excellent.
Thank
And
you.
oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here, Terri. This was lovely to talk with you and hear about how Z and Rico and your stories came to be. We love seeing folks that are passionate and still have like that love and spark for bringing stories into the world. So it's always wonderful to be able to connect. As we like to do here to wrap things up, is there a particular book, movie, audiobook, podcast, TV show that is bringing you joy these days, that is keeping you entertained? Anything to recommend?
I'm going to recommend a book called The Puzzle Box. Unfortunately, I don't have the author's name right in front of me. I'm listening to it on audio, and it's about an ancient Japanese puzzle box
Ooh.
and a guy who's trying to solve the puzzle. I'm halfway through, and it's mesmerizing.
Oh, that sounds really
Fantastic.
good.
Yeah.
I love like those stories that kind of blend historical elements and like treasure hunts and things along the line.
Yeah, Yeah.
That sounds like something I will have to dig into. But JC, any suggestions on your end since we last chatted on Tuesday?
Yeah, so I am listening to Hank Phillippi Ryan's The Murder List. That's a lot of fun because it's told in first person. So it's a thriller from the point of view of a law student who is married to a lawyer who is represents people charged with murder. And so, it's Hank Phillippi Ryan at her best. And I'm also going to make a plug for a TV show, R.J. Decker. It's on ABC. You can catch it on Hulu. It is executive produced by Carl Hyacin, who you all know I absolutely adore. It is, as it's like my Elmo Simpson. Instead of being in Paradise Springs, he's in Fort Lauderdale. So go see R.J. Decker. Everybody needs to watch it. So we're going to get another season. It's a blast. So that's what I
Awesome.
got. And how about you, Sarah?
I am listening to on audiobook. It's Donna Andrews' first Meg Laszlo series, Murder with Peacocks. And so I'm like going, I wanted to do like a nice bookend as we get ready for Malice Domestic and speaking with them. And gosh, it's just so funny. And I just am always amazed. It's like, wow, like people are so witty and funny. It's like, why can't I figure out how to do this in my stories? And it's probably just because I don't focus on, like, it would just like take me forever to like come up with all these witty comebacks that she has. So it is really hilarious and fun. I like the setup premise of it. So just wonderful to indulge in. So that one's Murder with Peacocks. And we will be talking very, very soon in person, folks.
We will.
Next week on the stream, we are not going to be having any streams next week because JC and I are going to be traveling to Malice Domestic, where we will be doing a live interview for the Bookish Hour on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. 10 a.m. What we will do is it is going to be filmed so that we will share it with you guys on our online community. So you still get to participate and be a part of the wonderful conversation that we'll be having with Hank Phillippi Ryan, Donna Andrews, and Alan Ornoff. It's going to be, again, just so much fun. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. But we will be off next week. But coming back the week of I want to say the 27th, with two episodes for you. So we'll double up so that you won't have to miss out on being bookish with us. But again, Terri Maue, thank you so much for being here with us. It was a delight
Yes.
to speak with you. Thank you to our wonderful viewers who joined us here live and who are watching after the fact. We are inching our way toward that 1,000 subscriber goal. If you guys could subscribe, it really helps us grow the channel and get our interviews in front of more wonderful readers like yourself. We appreciate you. We appreciate our wonderful guest, Terri Maue. And we will see you guys when we return. But until then, stay bookish, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.